Welcome back to Bird's Eye View. When it comes to the Orioles, this weekly podcast is your official source for a lack of insight and for baseless opinions. Today is July 24th, 2025, and this is episode 413. My name is Jake English.
And I'm Scott Magnus.
And on this week's show, we'll dust off the cobwebs after the All-Star break.
We'll also look to issue a few hugs to some old friends.
And we'll do all that right after we lubricate the show. That's right. It's time for the drink of the week. Scott Magnus, what are you drinking?
I decided to go up to New England and grab some Allagash White, a nice Belgian-style wheat beer. I feel like it's a nice little summer beer, right? But from the Maine area.
I'm not allowed to like Boston, but you're allowed to go to New England.
It's close enough to Canada, which is our 51st state at this point.
Only Nixon could go to China. I myself am working my way through a six-pack of Perpetual IPA by the good folks at Trogs. Enjoyable to the last drop.
So you're able to go to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and I'm still here in Maryland.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
That's how it works. And if you'd like to see what we are drinking on a daily, weekly, inning-by-inning, pitch-by-pitch basis, come find us on Untapped. I'm at Jake E4025.
I'm at MAGN 8606.
And with that, it's probably time for a checkup.
Time for your checkup. Time for your checkup. I'm gonna check your ears, check your eyes, find out how much you've grown. Time for your checkup. Gonna listen to your heartbeat, fix you up, ready to go. Time for your checkup. It's okay if you giggle. This will only tickle a little. Time for your checkup. Time for your checkup.
It's got lots of good news in this here medical wing. Right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Things have gotten so much better. It seems like there was a time when everything was just, people are getting hurt, but not so much now, right?
Yeah, sure.
Actually, a very momentous occasion took place. When the player we're about to talk to hit the IL, it was the Baltimore Orioles' 26th player to have done so, which means that we have an entire roster's worth of players that have been on the IL at some point this season.
That's pretty impressive.
I do think that it's poetic in a certain way.
Yeah. I think we can get to 30, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we are, of course, talking about Felix Bautista, who was unavailable due to some discomfort, and everyone said, that's it. The season's doomed. Well, okay. Maybe not the season's doomed. But it turns out that he has been placed on the 15-day IL, retroactive back to the 21st, with right shoulder discomfort.
Yeah.
He will undergo an MRI on Friday. Scotty, how should I feel? Okay, and you've got options. Should I be delighted it's not his elbow? Or should I be terrified that it is something else?
I think we're in to be determined mode at this moment. I do think it's great that it's not his elbow because, again, everyone was looking at the velocity reduction, which, again, I think was after the All-Star break. I think it's more interesting that the Orioles are like, we're immediately putting him on the IL. We're not even going to take a chance here. We need bodies in the bullpen, and we're just going to give Felix as much time as he needs. Let's see what happens. Again, I think this is overly cautious. We'll see how bad it is. But again, earlier in the day, he was throwing weighted balls. Plyo balls. We'll see. I think this is just overly cautious, and hopefully it's not, a 6-month surgery waiting for him to rehabilitate and potentially come back in 2026.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's 2025. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
All right, what else do we have here in the medical wing? We've got Keegan Aiken out with left shoulder inflammation. He pitched for Norfolk on Thursday. He probably needs one more rehab appearance before he's ready to return to the club.
Have you ever thought to yourself how ironic it is that Keegan Aiken's lefty?
I have not thought about that. But
things that pop in my head.
Maverick Handley has a right wrist issue, but I know that because that's what's written after he exited concussion protocol on Thursday.
Yeah.
Get your story straight, Orioles. Which is it?
Well, I think you have to be in the concussion protocol because he was ran into, and that's something that requires a separate screening and a separate release. And then as soon as he comes off the concussion protocol, then it's immediately like, well, he's still busted up, so he's going to still be in the IL. But I think it's just a different set of tests and things that are necessary to get him from one to the other. We'll see when we see Maverick Handley back. if at all, this season.
Well, it would
We
be
got plenty of catchers.
it would be a shame to miss out on one of our beige whispers.
Yeah.
Scott Bluette.
Bluette.
We need to pronounce it. Scott Bluette.
Bluette?
He's out with right elbow discomfort, placed on the 15-day IL on July 13th. Okay.
I also heard that he's going for a second opinion on the right elbow discomfort.
He thinks the first guy blew it.
I think he thinks the first guy blew it.
Next, I want to talk about Tyler O'Neill, who is technically...
You mean Sam the Eagle?
Excuse me. I would like to discuss our Muppet of a man, Tyler O'Neill, who is currently on the active roster and I believe playing baseball games.
Yeah, he played baseball last night.
But my question to you is he ever healthy? The last thing I saw listed general soreness, and I think that's just every night.
Yeah, it's like us, basically. It's general soreness every day and every night that we wake up.
Tyler O'Neill, us, and Charlie Morton because he's in his 40s.
Yeah.
General soreness. Adley Rutschman, with his left oblique strain, started his rehab assignment on the 22nd.
Yeah, he's been playing in Norfolk.
And I read, now, again, I can barely read, but I read that he could return to the Baltimore Orioles, your Baltimore Orioles, this weekend.
Yeah, why not play against a minor league team like the Colorado Rockies?
For a minor league team like the Baltimore Orioles.
Exactly.
Ryan Mountcastle begins his rehab assignment in Norfolk on Friday.
Tonight, actually.
Oh, tonight.
Tonight. So he actually played tonight. He's up in Lehigh Valley at the Iron Pigs. He went against Andrew Painter, hit a home run off of Andrew Painter. That is Andrew Painter, a top 10 prospect, Andrew Painter.
So he has half the number of home runs on his rehab assignment as he has in the majors this year.
That is correct. But he hit it off Andrew Painter. Celebrate.
Okay.
Another individual who is making their rehab appearance that's on the IL as well, Kay Povich, making an appearance from the IL tonight in Lehigh Valley.
Oh, so he is teammates with Brian Mountcastle.
Yes, absolutely.
And I wonder how that will go.
We'll see.
Who else do we have in this illustrious list?
We've got Gary Sanchez, who has a knee injury, 8 to 10 weeks. He's got to be done at this point, right?
Maybe.
I mean, that's like 2 months. He's done. He's not coming back for the season.
Was he ever really with us?
He was for 2 weeks. Our fans were literally chanting his name.
Stop.
Gary, Gary, Gary.
Just feels wrong.
No, it was fine. It was just like Rudy. He comes on the field and gets absolutely destroyed and buckles his knee. It's perfectly fine.
All right, what else?
In returning players, and this is one that has been on the permanent residence list, so we finally got to remove him from the permanent residence list. Kyle Bradish came back, pitched for the first time in 13 months tonight in Aberdeen, pitched for 2 innings, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, was consistently around 94 to 96, did touch 97 as per the in-stadium gun. Did give up 1 run, but in reality, there was some sloppy defense behind him. But he looked good. Like I said, he looked like he had good movement with his pitches, good velocity, a little command issues in terms of some of his fastballs and breaking balls. But overall, I think he pitched right around 25 to 30 pitches. Really good first start.
I will say the only thing that really matters to me, his arm's still attached.
His arm still is attached at this moment until we hear later on from Rockabaco that he's going for a second opinion.
I mean, I'm not trying to be snarky. Whatever the outcome is, whatever the outcome is, as long as his arm feels good coming out of that, it's a success. Scotty, you and I are failures. You and I are absolute failures. Kyle Bradish is pitching in Aberdeen right now.
Yeah.
20 minutes away from this studio right here. What are we doing?
Well, based off of watching it at MLB.TV and seeing how many people were at Aberdeen tonight,
everybody's recording a podcast this evening.
Everybody is recording a podcast this evening. I do know that there are a few folks that went to the game that are on social media, tip the cap. But yeah, Harford County certainly does not seem like it's turning out for the Ironbirds in what is probably their final season.
Womp, 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 womp.
Yeah.
All right. And then we've got a bunch of people, as you mentioned, in the permanent residence list of the medical wing. And that's not.
Let's talk about the individual that is he up, is he down, is he left, is he right? And it's Grayson Rodriguez, who once again is shut down with elbow inflammation.
I think that Grayson Rodriguez is following the lead of Tyler O'Neill.
Oh, so he's been lifting too much with him.
Must be.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens.
He's been promoted to general soreness.
I mean, at this point, I don't see Grayson Rodriguez coming back and pitching this season.
No.
I think the bigger question is, what is his role going to be in 2026? He pitched no innings this season. No innings. He's not going to be able to come back next year and throw 180 innings. What's his role?
Hear me out.
Yeah.
Mr. Splash.
Hear me out. Bullpen arm. We talked about this many years ago and said, is Grayson Rodriguez potentially a back-end rotation arm? I understand you want Grayson Rodriguez to be your ace, as was described by Mike Elias, but...
It's DL Hall all over again.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
All right, so the medical wing is, it's depressing. Let's leave that, Scotty, and we'll head on over to this week on the socials.
All right, let's do it. 280 characters or less. You want me to kick it off?
I'd love for you to.
Okay.
But, Scott, there's been a development.
Ooh.
Due to financial considerations, on this evening's show, we've decided to cut this week on the socials. People may enjoy it. You and I may enjoy it. It may be one of the drawing factors to this here program, but due to financial considerations, we're just going to cut it.
I knew we shouldn't have merged with Baltimore Sports Report Network.
So
it's that parent company.
We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll go around the bases. Alrighty, time to go around the bases. We'll start at first base, and we're going to start with Hug Watch.
Oh, it's going to be a rough week ahead.
It is indeed. This is never a good thing, but when it usually comes to Hug Watch, Scott, I feel like during the Dark Ages, when the Orioles were terrible, there was a certain, sense of loss when players left, but I think there was also a certain, hope associated with what we might bring. Because as sellers, the Orioles were generally bringing younger, or prospects into the organization, and it filled you with some hope. And I don't know that that's necessarily the case now. In this weird, we suck, but we're not tanking. We suck, but we think we're going to compete next year. We suck, but. I don't know that we're necessarily going to see a send-off for players that hurt us but fill us with hope.
Yeah. It's you're right. It's similar to Dark Ages baseball, and you come back and think about 2018 when you traded away Manny and you traded a few other players away as well. But it's a different vibe of like there are a lot more players on the block right now that you look at and say, that's a pretty decent player. And if I could have him back in 2026, I'd do that for a short-term deal. Now, you were never going to get Manny back. I mean, that was just never going to happen. But that's the kind of issues that we're at right now, which is if you trade a Cedric Mullins or you trade a Ryan O'Hearn or you trade a Sir Anthony Dominguez or a Gregory Soto, or I'll bring up another name in just a second, but like you look at those individuals and you say, well, if I trade them away, it is potentially only for a half a season. I could potentially re-sign them in the offseason, but in reality, it's probably done. There has been instances before the Orioles have traded away people like Mike Bordick, and he's come back, but more than likely, the Orioles are not going to make that move.
It just never happens as often as you would want it to.
Correct. And then you're left also asking this question, certainly we were talking before about him, but are there certain players that you are going to see moved that have 1+ year left that, you potentially could get a decent haul for? Felix Bautista was being bandied about by national beat writers.
We took care of that.
also being bandied out by the Philadelphia Phillies fan base as well. But another name that has popped up a lot because of the club option is Ramon Laureano. And, he's certainly having a career season this year. And the Orioles certainly will pick up that option for next year. The question is, do you trade him at this moment and just say, we will figure out how to replace Ramon Laureano, but someone is going to want Ramon Laureano and potentially overpay for how he's performing so far this year?
Yeah, if he's having a magical season, somebody who needs an outfielder in the midst of a magical season to push them over the top, or keep them at the top, may overpay.
Right. So, yeah, I think we're on hug watch, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how aggressive does Mike Elias actually get. And this is an opportunity for him to do something, as we talked about. Like when he fired Brandon Hyde, he said, I'm going to do everything in my power to really right the ship and do things. Now, part of that is, just like you said, trading away players and getting prospects is one thing to do. I think there's a lot of conception out there that people think that the Orioles have to be trading people away and getting people immediately for 2026. I don't see how that's possible. I don't see how any playoff team is trading someone and saying, I'm going to give you someone that is really good for 2026, but I don't need them for 2025. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Our trash for your treasure.
Yeah.
Here's a unpopular opinion. I don't think Cedric Mullins is having a good enough season to be an attractive trade target.
I think that's the big question. And he certainly has been struggling for the past, we'll call it month or month and a half at this point, to really raise that question. We talked about it before on the podcast, though. I still think as a fourth outfielder, a pinch runner, a backup center fielder, I think there's still some team out there that is going to make an offer to him and do it. But at the end of the day, if he is not traded because there's nothing that comes in, then it leaves the Orioles and Mullins in a very interesting scenario, which is, do you qualify offer him at $20 million? Probably not. Or do you say to Cedric, hey, we'd like to have you back. We'll give you a pillow contract. You'll come back for 1 year, and then we'll give you a club and a player option. And if it works out for both parties, then it's great. At this point, I think that's probably the avenue that they'll go. But let's see if some team says, we really think Cedric Mullins is necessary to fill out our bench depth going into the playoffs.
I think as far as the position players are concerned, the three people that jump off the page to me are Laureano, who you've just discussed.
Yeah.
O'Hearn, who is a known commodity. And then, of course, I think the last one is Ramon Urias.
Yeah.
Who could help any playoff team.
I think Ramon Urias is really interesting he's been, I wouldn't say overplayed, but he's been played more so than I would have expected so far in the month of July. And I think the Orioles are certainly positioning him as, this is an individual we really like. We value him. But look what he can do, both at third base and first base, and look how he is at the plate. So I agree. I think Ramon Urias also may be on hug watch from the position player standpoint. But again, that's a lot of position players all on hug watch, and you're not exactly sure who is going to move. You have assumptions, but you just don't know.
What about from the pitching standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think Charlie Morton is one that will absolutely be traded, and I think you could see the quotes that he came out with from the game, and it looks like Charlie Morton has already been told, we're going to do everything in our power to trade you, to give you another opportunity on being a playoff team. And kudos to Charlie Morton. Like I said, we cast him off as dead. We asked for his release earlier this year, and he has turned himself into a trade candidate, which is a miraculous standpoint. He has been the Orioles' best pitcher for well over a month now.
Gone from dead weight to an asset.
Yeah, but he will probably be traded. I think Dominguez will get traded. I think he's got too good of a stuff standpoint from his pitches right now that some team is going to pick him up. I don't know about Soto. I think Soto, some team may get him, but I don't think it's going to be for much. I think Soto potentially could be out the door. I think, again, it was interesting to see today them throwing Soto out there in the closer role, like once again to be like, hey, look what he can do. Look what he can do. And then, like I said, I think before the Batista injury, I think the Orioles were going to listen on Batista. Do I think he was going to get moved? I don't. But I think the Orioles were going out to people and saying, if you can give us a really good prospect, we will consider it, but it's going to have to be a top 20 prospect in order for us to make this move.
A guy who would have been a perfect candidate would have been Kittredge if he had been more healthy this season. But I also think that the real issue
Kittredge
here-
also has an option, though. So, I think that the Orioles will probably just pick up that option for next year.
Sure.
They need bodies.
The other thing that I don't think we're talking enough about is this, and that is Trevor Rogers.
Yeah.
Trevor Rogers has turned his season around, and so here's what I'm thinking, Scott.
Okay.
I think that you could probably send Trevor Rogers out for a package deal for a Connor Norby and a Kyle Stowers.
Can I be honest with you? I probably would not make that deal.
I'm legitimately just poking you with sharp sticks.
I'm aware.
At this point.
I'm aware. And I've seen this on social media, but I think as good as Kyle Stowers has been so far this season, I think the Orioles are so desperate for pitching going into next year that the Orioles absolutely have to have Trevor Rogers. If Grayson Rodriguez was on his rehab start just like Kyle Bradish, I'd be like, all right, maybe we can get either Kramer or Rogers. But the last thing I'm doing right now is giving any consideration to trading Trevor Rogers or Dean Kramer.
Absolutely. All right, so that is Hug Watch. Let's go ahead. Let's round into second base, and let's talk about some draft business. Because the Orioles have done a little business after their draft.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
I don't want there to be any kind of implied disrespect here to the guys that were drafted after round 10, because some of those guys may be productive Major League Baseball players someday. But I really only want to pay attention to the top 10.
Is that allowed?
Only paying attention to the top?
Yeah.
Yeah. ESPN did it for years when it came to baseball.
So we're going to be looking at top men here.
Top men. I missed it. It was a layup, and I missed it. So the Orioles have signed all of their top men at this point. Slater DeBruyne, who has a great Bond villain name,
Yes.
was the last of the top men to sign. He just signed.
And his alter alias on the black market is obviously Little Slay with 3 Ys. Follow him on Spotify.
I'll make a note of it.
Yes.
But he just signed today, and this is an interesting spot because this is that number 37 pick that we turned Brian Baker into.
Yeah.
The Orioles signed him, kept him from going to Vanderbilt,
Yeah.
crushed his collegiate hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
Went way over slot.
Way over slot. Slot was 2.63 and he signed it for $4 million. Orioles had the money for it. They had their slot money, and you're able to go 5% over your total slot money value. So the Orioles were able to spend pretty aggressively here. So, again, just to put this in perspective, your 30th pick was slotted at $3.11 million. Your 19th pick was slotted at $4.42 million. So if you think about that, you're roughly in the 20s there. You basically picked up a pick at 37 for a pick that would have been call it a mid-20s slot pick.
Yeah. And, I mean, you talked about this a couple weeks ago. You said this is the move that they can make to go ahead and get these guys. So, obviously, the Major League Baseball draft is a crapshoot.
Sure.
It would be foolish for us to try to make a determination right now. But, Scotty.
Welcome to Bird's Eye View.
Was it an overspend?
Oh, for Slater DuBron? No, I don't think it's an overspend. I think that's a good aggressive move, and it's not like you're going to use that money elsewhere. It's going to go away. If he wouldn't have signed, you would have gotten an additional pick next year at number 38 as opposed to 37. But no, I have no issues with overspending on Slater DuBron. I mean, you're in essence spending additional, $1.3 million? Big deal, so what, who cares?
So you heard it here first. Scott Magnus says this guy is going to be a surefire Hall of Famer, can't miss.
I'm actually completely fine with that. However, he is going to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as Little Slay and not actually make it into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I should have been more
specific. I think coming back and looking at the draft, there's a lot of things I like, and there's a lot of things that I didn't like. So number one, the first pick, Ike Irish. Ike Irish to most folks, and I follow everybody on social media. I'm on in the Verge Discord. Everyone is super excited about this pick. I don't know. This pick bothers me, and there's 2 reasons why this bothers me. Let's start with the baseball first. You have an individual here that is marketed as a catcher, but in reality, he's a corner outfielder who may be a catcher, and his comp was like a Ryan O'Hearn or a less athletic Christian Yelich. I don't know. That does not excite me. I understand it's the back end of the first round, but it seems like a very ho-hum pick, in my opinion. I understand he's probably one of the best bats coming out of college. I don't know. It's a ho-hum pick for me from a standpoint of being like, all right, if he's going to be a corner outfielder that can hit decently well, I feel like the whole thing of the Elias regime has been we can develop hitters. I don't know. Not sure how I feel about that. And then number two, which is my bigger concern, is I'm watching him as he's drafted. I'm watching the video, and I'm watching him with around all of his family. And I'm looking at him. I was like, all right, he's from Auburn. That's a lot of white people in a very white room. Okay, interesting. And then information comes out from various national media. Kylie McDaniel mentioned in the Fangraphs chat that there was a video evidently circulating where Ike Irish was saying matters that could be unfavorable to his character.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
There was also tweets that he has posted before when he was Auburn of making disparaging comments about why are we recognizing LGBTQ plus individuals more so than other individuals of like the Christian faith. Listen, I get it. I know the majority of Major League Baseball players are going to sway that way. But again, why can't we just keep politics out of sports?
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
As in English, is it my responsibility to dislike this Irish?
Oh, that's a good question.
I hate to ask. Can I go back to the baseball side?
Sure.
Just looking at the baseball side.
Yeah.
Can you quiet your misgivings if you look at the pick in the midst of those 4 top 37 picks?
No. Because
No?
the next pick is a catcher. So you went and got Caden Bowden, who is basically has no bat and is a superior defensive catcher, which screams to me, number one, you don't trust Sam Obasaya to be behind the plate long term. Ike Irish are like, well, he could be a catcher, but we should probably have another catcher in the wings because we don't think we've got any great defensive catchers available awaiting in the future. So no, I'm not wowed by the Ike Irish catcher scenario, even though I know he's not a catcher, he's an outfielder, because you basically came back at 30 and said, we're going to grab a defensive catcher, which again, a part of me is like, yes, he is an elite defensive catcher. Is that something that I want to be dropping a 30th pick for? I don't know. Not super exciting to me.
So you heard it here first. The draft class of 2025. Complete failure. Everything's broken forever.
I'm not saying that because the next pick I love. I love that you're able to get Wealoy at 31. I was screaming when pick number Daikim came up. I was just like, go get Alloy. Go get him. That's who I wanted at pick 19. My personal opinion looking at this is if Alloy and Irish were flipped, I would probably be like, all right, not bad. But a part of me looks at it and be like, could you have gotten someone else than Ike Irish at 19? And then could you have also gotten Alloy at 30? And that's the thing that just, you never know. You just never know, but it just is something that bothers me.
And could any of them have been pitchers?
Well, I mean, the Orioles did pick up a pitcher at number 74. So that's nice. And he's a lefty.
Can't wait to break him.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not saying I'm against it. And like I said, everybody who knows anything about prospects in baseball has looked at this and said the Orioles did a great job in terms of drafting best player on the board. They did a really nice job, again, getting everybody signed. I think the Slater Dubron standpoint is a good signing. We'll see if he actually turns anything. But like I said, the Orioles did the appropriate acrobatics to basically get everyone signed in their top 10. I just look at it and I say to myself, it looks like, again, a very conservative draft. And I think the Orioles picked well in terms of talent, but there's nobody in there that I'm like, okay, that's a high school prospect. And yes, it's super risky to get him, but he potentially could turn into a superstar. None of these guys, except for Alloy, really screamed to me, superstar. And again, you don't ever know. Superstars come out at round 4, round 8, round 14. You never know what people develop into, but we keep seeing this kind of conservative behavior at the top of the draft. And at some point, the Orioles are going to have to be a little risky with drafting high school prospects, in my opinion.
All right, let's take this into third base.
Yeah. Let's talk about third base. There's been a lot of talk about Hug Watch and just asking questions about 2026. Hall of Famer of this week on the Twitter is Matt Kremenitzer, posted something along the lines of, I think we have to start looking at the core and asking questions like, is Jordan Westberg really the player that is the glue for this? So I guess the question I raised to you, Jake, is we have for many years now said there needs to be an infrastructure, there needs to be a nucleus, and that has been folks like Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Jordan Westberg, Colton Cowser, kind of attributed to it, and then I think you've got Jackson Holiday. I think that's your five. That's your Jackson five, as it were. On
your
that
Fab
basis.
Five.
If it's just those, and those are your superstars positionally, do you feel like that talent alone is good enough to win you a World Series?
So I think the answer can be yes, but it requires capable filler.
Yeah.
It requires that second level, the Jonathan Scopes of the team. When you look at this team, I think part of the problem in 2025 here is the drop-off is huge. Like, not only is the core underperforming, but once you ignore that, it's a huge drop-off after that. And I think that...
Well, your people that have picked up the pace have been Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano.
Yeah, and I think that those, people like that are going to have career seasons every once in a while, but you need to have regulars that are just pretty good and not superstars. That's the problem. Can we turn can we turn Kobe Mayo into pretty good?
Probably.
That is the test of this organization. Yeah. Because I think if you were, hoping that you can hit often enough on the surefires like the Rutschmans and the Hendersons, okay, cool. Can you keep the flame lit with the secondary players?
Yeah. So let me ask you this ridiculous question. And I think my answer is absolutely not. You don't need it. But let's hypothetically say the number one free agent this offseason is going to be Kyle Tucker. Outfielder. If money was not an option, which it shouldn't be for a billionaire such as David Rubenstein, would you go out and sign Kyle Tucker and say, hey, the core is good, but by adding a Kyle Tucker, it just makes this team all the much better?
Can he pitch?
He cannot pitch. He cannot pitch.
I mean, sure. If money's no object, then yes, you stock as many great players as you can, and you figure out the positional.
But that is not a priority for you at this moment.
Yeah.
If you had to choose between Dylan Cease and Kyle Tucker, who are you picking?
Cease.
No, I would be the same way, hands down.
And the other thing is that I feel like it is far more likely to get a Ramon Laureano, flash in the pan, great season out of the fringe positional players. You were never going to get that with some random dudes that you signed to be your fifth starter.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's the difference of, you can pick up people and they can be your fifth or sixth starter. I mean, even we talked about 2014 with like Nelson Cruz, and people are like, oh, Nelson Cruz was so good in 2014. And you're right, for a few months there, Nelson Cruz was absolutely in fuego. But the real hero of 2014 in many instances was Steve Pearce.
Absolutely.
And no one would have been like, oh, Steve Pearce, why are you picking him up? And again, nothing against Nelson Cruz. Nelson Cruz was absolutely pivotal for the 2014 Orioles. But you're absolutely right. You can find talent to really push up the team for that core five. So I think that core five is good enough. I do think that core five needs to come back up to the levels that we've seen before. And in reality, it comes back to if Adley does not hit like Adley has prior to last summer, then you don't have a core of five. You only have a core of four. Jackson Holiday is still somewhat figuring it out. Cowser was hurt. And then Gunner's having an okay-ish season. I wouldn't say it's a bad season, but it's not an MVP season.
It's not great for him.
Right. So I agree with you. I think the core is good enough. It's the same story that we've had for years now, and it's the same story we came into the season. Get pitching, and then see what is left over. And maybe you look at it and say, Kyle Schwarber's out there on the marketplace. He wasn't picked up because of other extenuating issues in the market. Maybe we'll go pick up a Kyle Schwarber, and he'll be our Nelson Cruz for 2026.
The real question, Scott, is this. When you're ticking off players in your fingers there to name as the core, as the fab, as the Jackson 5, how dare you omit Jacob Stallings?
I did forget Jacob Stallings. Shame on me.
Shame on me.
But in reality, the only position you're really looking for is you're looking for a corner outfield position to potentially go out and get somebody. Unless you're going crazy and saying, we're going to go get a third baseman and we're going to move Jordan Westberg to the outfield, which I don't see happening anytime soon. So I think this is the people that you dance with and you say, Adley, you got to deliver. Gunner, you got to deliver. And then, like you said, you have all these other guys that need to post 1 to 3 WAR seasons, and you need to minimize the negative WAR. Dan Duquette did a really good job with this during his tenure with the Buckle Up Birds era, and we saw Heston Kjerstad, Tyler O'Neill struggle this year.
Ryan Mountcastle.
I mean, the catcher situation has been negative WAR too because of
The
Adley
beige
being
whisper.
hurt and, everyone, being picked up. So a little bit more consistency goes a long way.
Fair enough. All right, let's wrap this up. Let's go into home plate. And Scotty, it's all simulation.
Jake, are you going to take the red pill or are you going to take the blue pill?
I'm going to tell you, I fell down a rabbit hole earlier this week. I'm not proud of this.
Also a Matrix reference, but that's a whole other matter.
I fell down a rabbit hole. I'm not proud of this. For some reason, I got to shopping through the many simulator games that one can purchase either on the PC or on a console, and I was blown away by the simulator games that are available. You can play a simulator to inhabit a bee or a goat or a cat or a silly goose. You can look at activities such as running a train station or a bus depot or an excavation site, managing a restaurant. There's even a bum simulator, like a hobo simulator.
Well, the huge game right now in for all the teens and the tweens is Grow a Garden. It is a Roblox game where you basically grow a garden. So instead of going outside and growing your own garden, you go onto a server and you grow fruit and vegetables, and apparently you get pets, and it is extremely popular right now.
All right. But it got me to thinking.
Yeah.
We need to prepare people for their role in the next great Orioles team.
Oh.
And so what kind of simulators do we need to be developing for Orioles fans, for aspiring Orioles employees? And I got to thinking, the one that leapt right off the page for me was Major League Baseball field maintenance simulator.
I like that.
I feel like grounds crew is the perfect place, because you can do all the things. You can cut the grass, right? You can grow the tomatoes, right? So you got that right there.
Absolutely.
You can perfect getting the tarp on and off the field.
Yep.
You can consult with the National Weather Service and argue with the umpires. There are so many exciting things that you can simulate in that particular game.
Yeah. One of my favorite games growing up as a kid was Roller Coaster Tycoon. I really enjoyed that standpoint of putting together a park, seeing how people filled into the park, how people got sick getting off of rides and having to do it. So my proposal to this would be, what if we create a simulation called Private Equity Tycoon? You are in the shoes of a private equity owner. You're able to go through the stadium. You're able to make changes to your stadium to appeal to the 1% of the population. You're able to chuck hats into the stands, and you're able to basically tear down the stadium while also getting tax breaks at the same time.
Look, it's a good joke. It's a great joke even. But you left easy money on the floor.
Well, as a private equity individual, that's always the case.
That simulator has to be called Create a Park.
Create a park.
And I think rather than what can we do to bring the wall in, take it out, that's the hokey pokey, I think that the important part of that game would be, what can you put between the field of play and the seats of the spectators and beautiful bits of the skyline?
Yeah.
What monstrosities can you erect on the skyline to blow up the view?
I like that.
Create a park.
I like that.
If we're going to get to simulation, one of the things that I would really love to see is Usher.
Yeah.
And I don't know that this is as true now, but in our younger days, I feel like the ushers were there just to give people a hard time.
Yeah.
So this simulator would be...
It was the suspenders. It made them pissed off.
It was the suspenders of power. It made them feel
Yeah,
powerful.
they're like, we got suspenders on.
Do you have suspenders?
I'm an old-timey usher. I'm going to hold you to task.
Imagine having a section that you have to guard, you have to defend, you have to make sure that nobody gets into that doesn't belong there. You got to chase the people out that have already snuck in. You've got to make sure nobody gets too rowdy. I feel like Usher Simulator, it has legs as an Orioles-themed simulation game.
I like that. I think that's a good one. Similar, I think a good one is going to be, and again, these individuals do a great job. A giveaway simulator would be a great job, what the Orioles advocates do. So you're sitting there and you're passing out and you've got to make the determination of, all right, is this individual over 21 years old or not? Do I give the giveaway to them or not? And at the end, you're judged on the aspect of how accurate you were. And then also you get lambasted or yelled at by people that got there a little too late and don't get the giveaway. There's a particularly nasty NPC called Jake English that says, I'm a season ticket holder, and I got here an hour before the game, and I still didn't get a giveaway. And you've got to go ahead and wrangle with him at one point in the stage.
That guy's the worst.
That guy is the worst.
I think, though, that we're also overlooking a critical component, which is that it's not just the major league level.
Yep.
These kind of simulations really can extend to the minors. And when you look at what it takes to put a successful product, not even on the field, a successful product together at the minor league level, you really have to keep in mind that, the minor league general manager has to be the jack of all trades.
Yep.
And has a lot of things to worry about. And so I think in kind of a business sense, it would be interesting to see what attractions can you bring to the ballpark to put butts in seats, for when Kyle Bradish stops by.
Yep.
And I think a big component of that naturally is going to be Cowboy Monkey Rodeo.
I think that makes sense. I think the last simulator, we talked about some, we'll call it classic ones, but one area that is always interesting to me is when you can actually interact with the game with your own body. So like when you're playing Duck Hunt and you've got the gun and you're shooting things.
I'm really glad that's where you went. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see where else I go. But I'm thinking you play a game and there's a sensor looking back at you and it's scanning your body. You're standing there at third base and you're making the determination, do I send the individual or do I not send the individual? And you need to make the windmill action in order to send the individual.
I love this. I love this.
So the game would be called, obviously, the windmill.
This is I think this has got a chance. of all the ridiculous ideas, that's the best one.
I still think Private Equity Tycoon or Create a Park is a $1 billion idea.
I'm sure they do too. All right, so that is our list of simulator games. If we've missed any,
folks, get ready for this shtick for the rest of the season. If you don't like this, just turn it off. It's okay. But this is the best you're going to get.
This is what the Orioles have done to us
from Orioles baseball going forward.
All right, next we are going to take a quick break and come right back, and we're going to talk about Fantasy Boss. Scott, the lack of music is because neither one of us knows what happened with Fantasy Boss.
I'm assuming we got traded at this point. Like, I have no idea what the score is, what the categories were, nothing.
We have two choices here, Scotty. We can do one of two things.
I'm pretty sure that we picked Chadwick Trump and Maverick Hanley for our last category.
The Beige Whisper. I think that we should either decide that we're going to go minor league rules, and we're going to declare a winner here in the first half.
I am perfectly fine forgetting the first half and just saying, yes, Jake English, you were the first half champion. Congratulations. I behaved in a manner that it was similar to the 2025 Orioles. My apologies, folks. If you want the Orioles to win, you should be rooting for me for Fantasy Boss.
I like that because the other option was to start up the wild card in a hurry.
No.
And that was just, and again,
we tried that and it did not work.
I would hate to besmirch the integrity of this program by getting silly.
Absolutely.
We can't
that
have
is
it.
Unacceptable.
So let's just call it, we're going to have a first half championship and we're going to have a second half championship. Scott, we are cutting our loss. It is 0-0.
Yep.
For the second half championship. And so for Fantasy Boss,
yep,
we now have a grand old week. And so as the non-champion of the first half, I would love for you to pick a category for us to start off with.
Sure. We're going to go simple OPS.
Ooh.
So again, combination of slugging, on-base percentage, OPS.
All right. And I get to pick a player who I think is going to do something with that?
That is correct.
That's going to be trouble. Okay. I'm going to try with Jordan Westberg.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, the past 14 days, he's had a 700 OPS-ish, give or take. 707, my apologies. My math was not doing it in my head.
Math was not mathing.
I'm going to go similar. I'm going to go with one of his infield battery mates. I'm going to go with Jackson Holiday for my OPS.
It's a great pick.
And let's see who steps up. Both are basically batting around the same from an OPS standpoint over the past 14 days. Let's see who steps up this week during the trade deadline and who owns it.
I was going to say that it sounds like they're neck and neck, but I was worried about Tyler O'Neill getting hurt as I said
He is sore by us saying that, but we'll see what happens. All right, well, with that, let's go figure out who is good, who is bad, and who is ugly right now in Orioles baseball.
That's right. It's time again for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Scotty, there hasn't been much in the way since, we'll call it the All-Star break. This is small sample size territory.
Very small sample size.
And I would apologize for it, but I just
don't
care. My good is going to go to Trevor Rogers. And yeah, it's for the one start that he had. But also, I would say it's a tip of the cap for the rest.
Tip of the cap for the consistency standpoint from recently, ever since he's come back up. So we've given Trevor Rogers some love, but I think it's appropriate that he gets a little bit of a good in the good, bad, and the ugly. Another individual that we've talked about, through this podcast and other ones, but I don't think he's actually gotten onto the good yet, is Ramon Laureano. Over the past 14 days, 147 weighted runs created plus, 308 average, 317 on base percentage. But bro, he's been the broiest of bros, leading the bro charge for the bros, all the Baltimore Oriole bros.
I think you're just charged up from being with your son on vacation.
I think I'm just charged up with being with my son and your son and a friend's son, and then fishing every single day for 68 hours straight. Bros, bees, bros. It's a bro summer.
Next, we're going to go to bad. It was a pro summer, isn't that bad? And my bad for this week is, again, small sample size, but Colton Cowser. Colton Cowser, in 23 plate appearances, a 38 weighted runs created plus. Not great, Bob. Not great.
Yeah, my bad is going to go to an individual we talked earlier about during the trade segment, our Hug Watch, and Cedric Mullins. Over his past 33 plate appearances, he's had no walks. He's had a strikeout rate of almost 40%, 242 average. Obviously, on-base percentage is exactly the same since he has had no walks. Good for a 49 weighted runs created plus. I still think there's a role for Cedric Mullins on this team. I think there's a role for Cedric Mullins on playoff teams. But for some time now, Cedric Mullins has been doing pretty poorly. He's been bad. And hopefully, maybe that lets him stick around with us for a little bit longer. Otherwise, I'll be bidding him farewell this week when I go to the game on Friday or tomorrow night. And I hope it's not my last time I see Cedric Mullins in an Orioles uniform.
All right, my ugly this week is going to go to me.
What?
I need to get better, Scott. I have rage quit on too many baseball games.
That's true.
Too many Oriole games this week. I've gotten to the point where I've taken a look at it and I've said, you know what? This is as good as it's going to get.
I'm not going to do this to myself.
My evening can get no better if I continue watching this game. I'm just going to go do anything else. And look, has my choice turned out to be correct most of the time?
Most of the time.
Yes. But it's still not a good look. It's not a good practice. I need to be better. I need to be better. And I know that there are lots of O's fans out there in the same boat right now. And so I just want to say, I know you think you're doing well for your mental health. I know that you think that you're making good decisions. But just like me, be better.
My ugly has to go to Kobe Mayo. And it's not because of Kobe Mayo, but it's what the hell are we doing with Kobe Mayo? this was a prime opportunity with Mountcastle getting hurt to be like, hey, Kobe Mayo, now's your time to shine. And the Orioles have not utilized Kobe Mayo in any regard whatsoever. It's just baffling to me. And some of those quotes that came out of being like, well, we really like him sitting on the bench and just absorbing it. Yeah, that's exactly the way your player developing is, just by sitting there and absorbing it. Look, I get it. You're getting people familiar with the game, getting people familiar with the speed of the game. But what a waste of freaking time. Like, what a waste of time. I know you're trying to get O'Hearn out there to kind of showcase him for his talent at first base. You know, you had Ruiz come in at one point to basically play first base. But, like, how are you leaving Kobe Mayo on the bench and not getting him plate appearances while Ryan Mountcastle was hurt? Like, what an absolutely god-awful way to player develop.
It's the kind of decision that I think should get a manager. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, I know that's been a perennial talking point for a lot of people on social media, beat writers as well. But man, it is extremely frustrating. I mean, even after Kobe Mayo got on base 4 times in a row this week, next game, nope, Kobe Mayo does not play. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. And again, for as good as Manzolino was of it, basically, like, Jackson Holliday needs to play every single day. He needs to get the playing time, even if it gets a lefty versus lefty. He needs to play. I just don't understand Kobe Mayo not playing with the amount of injuries that we've had on this team.
I feel like the Orioles are going to make you a commitment right now. I feel like in terms of Kobe Mayo's playing time, let's just lift off from here.
There you go.
All right, let's leave that right there.
Yeah.
Let's come back. We'll blow the safe.
Jake, it happened again.
Oh, no.
I am pissed. I'm absolutely annoyed.
What have I done now?
Jake, there is a new movie coming out. It is a rom-com set in Baltimore where 2 individuals are looking for love after divorces and in dealing with life as it is. And I was like, oh, this is great. This is cute. This will be a fun little movie to watch. And then the title comes across, The Baltimoreans. And I thought to myself, gosh darn it. That was supposed to be the name of this podcast. And, then Sam and Alan were smart enough to do it before we were. And now we've got Hollywood getting involved and taking on the name of our ideal podcast. Jake, this cannot stand. This is unacceptable. Who do I need to write a letter to in order to prevent such acts from occurring going forward in the future?
I don't know, but I do think that Sam and Alan need to serve them with a cease and desist.
Yes.
Because they are not the all-weather rom-com. They can't get away with that.
That's true.
So Sam, Alan, if you were listening, we need you to defend your own honor because we're too lazy to do it for you.
And again, as long as you are still practicing your art, once a year, you're still active in from your domain purposes from a copyright or a trademark standpoint. So guys, get on it, protect that. And if in the future you want to sell the name of your podcast, we'd be glad to pay a few dollars to you in the future.
A king's ransom.
A king's ransom, yes. Now, a private equity ransom.
And that is our show. Remember, you can find this and our entire catalog of indispensable episodes at birdseyeviewbaltimore.com.
Bird's Eye View is available for download wherever it is you get your podcast. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcast, YouTube Music, Spotify, and many others. And please remember to rate and review the show. We appreciate the feedback, and it encourages other people to listen for the first time.
Come and get social with us. You can email us at contact@birdseyeviewbaltimore.com. You can find us all over social media, all those places, but the best place to find us is where we are settling in quite nicely over at Orioles Blue Sky at Bird's Eye View BAL. And with that, Baltimore and beyond, I will bid you all a fond but simulated adieu adieu.
Good night, Baltimore. Be safe out there. Don't be sore. And let's go O's.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.